Take a look at this. In 2018 at CES, see that little robot dog squeezed between Animal and Boston Dynamics spot? That's Unitree's Laikago. It could walk and run, but you could tell it was early, like it was just there to see how the big players do it. And then, 8 years later, Unitree's pulling off 720-degree spin on China's biggest live TV stage. Fast enough that people online think it must be CGI. So, what happened? How do you go from Laikago to WuBOT in 8 years? In 2021, Unitree put 24 robot dogs on the most watched TV show on Earth, China's Lunar New Year Gala. And that's the key word, live. Because the hard part isn't making a robot dance once. It's making 24 do it together, where one tiny drift breaks the whole formation. On a stage like that, a floor that's slightly slick, and costumes that shift balance, are enough to turn a clean demo into chaos. They spent months tuning it. But here's the twist. The moment that went viral wasn't on stage. It was backstage, one robot dog, costume off, hauling lunchboxes across the set. After the A1 went viral, Unitree priced the Go one around $2,700. Spot by comparison is often $70,000 plus, roughly a 20 times difference. They sold over 1,000 units that year, and suddenly, these weren't just demos anymore. Once these robots leave the lab and hit real environments, problems surface quickly, and iteration gets faster. Once the quadrupeds took off, Unitree went humanoid. Their first full-size platform was the H1, about 5 feet 11 inches, roughly 104 pounds, with a top speed around 7.4 miles per hour. Early H1s didn't try to look friendly. No shell, barely any hands. More like a frame than a finished product. It didn't look polished yet, because that wasn't the priority. By 2025, Unitree brought 16 H1s back to the Lunar New Year Gala. This time, moving in formation with human dancers and keeping time with the music. Then they took the H1 to Beijing's humanoid competitions, where it won gold in both the 1,500 meters and 400 meters. And if you want a quick sense of that pace, watch the engineers in the footage. They're running behind it with controllers, just trying to keep up. Then came the G1, about 4 feet 4 inches. It can fold up like a yoga pose, then pop back to standing in about 4 seconds. And yes, there's that clip where it backhands a walnut and tracks it clean. A lot of that comes from Unitree's motors and control, high torquey and fast force control. That can soak up impacts in milliseconds, instead of wobbling for a full second. But the G1 also became Unitree's favorite punching bag. It gets kicked, shoved, and surprise hit in testing. And it keeps snapping back to balance. That kind of recovery is something you train into the system. After millions of reps in simulation and tuning, it starts to look like muscle memory. The base G1 starts at $16,000. And at that price, it's hard for a lot of Western startups to match. After H1, Unitree iterated into H2. Same height, about 5 feet 11 inches, but heavier, around 154 pounds. With 31 to 40 high torque degrees of freedom, and even a more human-like face. On camera, it can do both, ballet soft and kung fu sharp. And then there's that demo where a high front kick knocks the chest plate right off a G1, and the timing of it feels deliberate, like a warm-up for what came next, WuBOT. WuBOT on the gala wasn't just a dance, it was a full-speed, multi-robot martial arts sequence, weaving through each other, parkour over obstacles, weapon handling, all on a slick live stage. The scary part is the coordination. Dozens of robots moving at once, changing positions, without collisions. And if one lands slightly off because the floor slips or the motion overshoots, the system detects the drift and pulls it back into formation fast enough that the audience barely notices. No surprise, the comments were wild. Is this CGI? Is that a human in a suit? And one comment literally asked, why did US labs spend billions over a decade to get here, while Unitree did it with a fraction of that? So, what's your take?